from wonderful Google Chrome.
Wonderful Google Chrome.
If their algos will allow it this morning. I think there's nobody in the office this morning. So.
Yeah, they don't care about us this morning. They
There it is. We're live. We're live.
Yeah, yeah. They don't. They usually now the algorithms are in charge. We're at the algorithm's mercy. This is how the Terminators rise, ladies and gentlemen.
It is. The factories are being retooled as we speak.
Yeah, Skynet is awake, and he has realized that we don't deserve to be here.
Bless us all, for we learn nothing from modern fiction.
No,
No.
we're gonna learn today. That's right.
Are we learning today? Let's try to learn today.
Yeah.
We are the most educated podcast. Is that what you say?
That's right. Most educated.
Coffee is pouring. People, come on in. Have a seat.
Yeah, we've got. I am concerned. We got our coffee pouring, but
we have no biscuits.
no biscuits. No biscuits. No.
No cookies.
Yeah. I hope that everyone has a great day.
No scones. No danishes. We're definitely going to have to search up a new vid for this.
Yeah, maybe we'll have somebody eating breakfast like on loop.
We still need to lighten it up a little bit and put breakfast buzz on that cup.
It requires work. And I guess I could do that. I hope everyone's having a great morning. A healthy morning. Hope that you all woke up and you're healthy and not like me with a sore throat. But
we survived last night. You have a sore throat. You better be careful.
Yeah, I know what it is. I know what it's from.
Social distancing, my friend.
Yeah.
Should we ask? Had it anything to do with Wolverine and Scott?
No. It's had everything to do with just being a poor individual. Poor individual.
Too poor to buy a bookshelf?
I'm poor. Too. Yeah, we're gonna pick on that. Yeah, drink meds. Yeah.
He's in the house.
Yeah, I'm gonna down some more NyQuil. I didn't know. I did read it. I read it. I think it's a good book. I definitely like the art, and the ending was the ending of issue 1. I was like, you son of a. What's the official SOB for a female? Can we call it a female in a good way? You son of a. Because it was a good ending. I definitely like the ending. The book was a cliffhanger.
Be careful.
Yeah. So pick up. You should be people should be picking up. Naya Caller. It's Dorfea's second book.
Dorfea's other recommendation?
Yeah, it's
drink meds.
Drink them.
An incredibly large bottle of rum sitting upstairs.
Yeah.
For later. Not in the morning, but later.
So we're going to hit our intro, Randy, and then we're going to come back. And we'll be with these lovely people this morning. Get ready. Because this here is Breakfast Buzz.
Start buzzing.
Yep. We're not on the ball today at all. Supposed to move that coffee cup there. Yeah. So, here we are this morning.
Good morning.
Still day 2 of social distancing, and
what do you mean day 2? Holy crap!
No, I'm just kidding. No, it's
day 2 of you getting tired, totally tired of the term social distancing.
Yeah,
every 5 seconds on the news.
Yeah, it's but here's the thing: have they not been watching us for the past 3 years? We're trying to remain as socially distant as possible. This country couldn't be more socially distant.
Oh well, we're finding that you are wrong in that assumption. We're distancing ourselves even farther every day. Every governor that comes out with another restriction, and they do it for our good. Granted, because this virus is easily spread, but I just long for the good old days of 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I gotta apparently venture out today, but I don't know how I'm gonna do it because this throat. I don't think I'm gonna do it. I think I'm gonna send my wife.
Get yourself a respirator.
Yeah.
Order it on Amazon and wait 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Well, just convince them it's essential. You'll get it in 2 days. Hell, they'll drone it to your house if you want to pay enough.
So Randy, all this stuff that's canceled, I am amazed because I've been checking out draw streams and I've been checking out a lot of different things that we have going on in the community of comics, and Dorothy says she's gonna do better in issue 2. She learned about her flaws. Dorothy, that's all that we could ask of a comic book creator.
That's a sign of an artist.
Yeah, it's
Get better from issue to issue.
Yeah, it's just getting better each issue. And then that's really, and trying to be a better creator, today than you were yesterday. Rob says, good morning, Rob.
Good morning, Rob. Good morning.
Yeah, but so many shows are canceled. I've been seeing a lot of artists and even writers or, inkers are doing streams just to get people's mind off of what's going on. So I said this morning, maybe we shouldn't mention the quarantine. They're like, nah, that's ratings. But I thought, we are,
Well, it's not just an us problem. It's not just a state problem. It's a world problem.
Yeah.
And, our heart right now is out there with Italy and Spain, who's just suffering. I don't know if you're familiar with the numbers, but Italy's been going through some catastrophic losses.
Yeah,
it's with a health system that's not able to handle the burden. So
yeah, it's very telling that it was a them problem until it was an us problem, and it's funny how people's tune changes the second it becomes a us problem. Oh, wait a minute, I better take this serious now.
That's on the other side of that ocean. What does that got to do with us?
Yeah, I don't care about anything. But, okay, wait a minute, shit, it's my problem now. So welcome to the post COVID-19 world.
Well, that, and sad to say, it's just getting started. So
yeah,
in some countries, they're still going to be struggling for months, and I'm afraid we might be one of them. Good morning, Trico.
Yeah, and we have a guest today. He's going to talk to us about his new book, getting ready to crowdfund. We're gonna bring him in, and we are going to run him through the old iNDIEVOLT question barrage.
Comics go on.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
There's always room for comics. Be calm and read comics.
That's right. Let's welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen,
the one and only
Dr. Lord.
that subscribe button might be hiding something.
Yeah. Is it? Let's move it. Hello, sir. Are you there?
Hello. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good.
How are you, man?
I'm pretty good.
Good.
So I've been wanting to get you on the show for a bit, and we talked about that, and here you are, very early in the morning with us. Now, first of all, where are you from?
I'm from Texas.
Texas. Well, we got a lot of Texans.
Yeah. Well, what part of Texas?
Well, currently I live in South Texas.
Okay.
Yeah. Around Brown City?
Right near, well, you know where South Padre Island is?
I have a good idea where it is. Yeah.
Okay. Pretty close to there.
Cool.
Excellent. How are things there?
Pretty good. It's a little overcast today, but not too bad.
Awesome. And all of the, is it quiet? Is it eerily quiet there, or is it still got a lot of cars? Still people still living and still doing what they have to do day by day, or have they pretty much all isolated themselves as well?
Well, it's just like everywhere else. Actually, where I'm at here, the county has closed down a bunch of stuff. So they closed down like all the county parks, and they closed down the beach and all that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Just like everywhere else, they're getting a little freaked out about stuff, And I think it's kind of interesting because, well, maybe there's a reason, but at the same time, back when the swine flu, when that was going around, there was a lot more people that died from it. There was like 1,200 people that died from it before they got to the point of saying, okay, well, maybe this is something we should be worried about, But now, it's like, yes, we've had some people die, but it's not been anywhere near what happened with swine flu, at least not yet. And people seem to be a lot more scared.
Well, I think the virus has a tendency, depending upon your health, to strike you a lot faster. So
That could be it. Yeah, that could be it.
that,
It's
and it's really
possible that just
contagious.
the swine flu possibly just didn't. It wasn't as sudden. Possibly.
Well,
Now,
we saw
That
this.
might be part of it.
We saw this coming too, and we're seeing what it's done to other countries.
True.
So
True.
there's some examples there. We're trying to take some safeguards to keep that from happening to us and overburdening the medical system.
Well, I was in Walmart yesterday, and there was not a single roll of toilet paper to be found. There was not all the bottled water was gone, and they had a Walmart employee standing in front of where the milk was to make sure that no one took more than 1 gallon.
yeah, I've seen that here. You know what's funny? A friend of mine just went and got a firearm, and his wife was telling me, she says, all of the guns are gone. People are buying up firearms, and I'm like, really? She's like, yeah. And I said, well, you know what? People are actually, they pull up to the gun store and they got like a trunk full of toilet paper. And I said, well, the funny thing about that is that we're in Michigan, so it's like, toilet paper and a gun. Either way, they got something for your ass. I like to make light of the situation as much as I possibly can because these are trying times. But
right.
I do want to get. I want to move on to your comic that you have now. You guys are getting ready to launch the Indiegogo. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, we're planning on launching on April the 3rd.
I'm gonna pop up your Kickstarter here, Randy. If I crash, you know what happened.
Is it a Kickstarter? Is it something?
Indiegogo. I'm sorry, Indiegogo campaign.
Indiegogo.
The IGG.
All right. The Death Ray of Dr. Vindictus.
Cool.
Yeah.
This is a young boy buys a comic book and finds adventure within its pages. So, we're going to watch the video. Is there any copyrighted music in it? Should I mute it?
No, it's fine.
Excellent. All right. Let me see here. I
Did
want
you
to make
click
sure that
the share video option?
I did. Click share audio. Yeah. I'm going to make sure I did.
Sorry,
that's fine.
Share video.
I'm going to make sure I did. 1 second. Just in case I didn't. Just in case. Because, I wish it was where you could check to see if you had done that. All right. All right, let's watch the video. You guys see that?
Blow that up.
All right. Blowing up now. Here we go. Dusk Moon Studios presents.
Cool.
That's pretty cool.
Awesome
I love
stuff.
the music.
It's got a very pulpy feel to it.
Well, that's by design. We're going for a golden age of comics feel for it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And it'll also be on newsprint.
Well, can you tell us a little bit more about it? Like, I see that I read the pitch there that young boy finds adventure in the comic book without being too spoilery. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Well, let's just say it's a magic comic book. So there will be a character getting pulled into the comic book world from the real world.
And
so, yes,
that's cool. So the character gets pulled into the comic book. We see a lot of times where characters from the comic book come out, but now this character's going in. That's pretty interesting.
Right. Well, actually, there's going to be two people from the real world getting pulled in.
Okay.
So yes, and they're going to be taking the place of people in the comic. So when they get pulled in in the role of a character within the comic.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
You getting ready to launch April 3rd?
April 3rd, yes.
And people, if they want, they can go to Indiegogo, and they can, and they should, because it sounds pretty interesting. They should go over to Indiegogo, the Death Ray of Dr. Vindictus, and sign up for the email, and they'll get up to the minute updates. Especially, they'll get reminders around launch. Let's see, we got some comments here.
Rob from the Advocating Channel says, "Is that copywritten music? It did come up on my Shazam."
Yeah, it
It
might
was.
be. Oh, I'm
Go
sorry, I
ahead.
cut you off.
I'm sorry. What was the question?
Is that copywritten music? It did come up on his Shazam. He says.
It
Shazam it.
shouldn't. It shouldn't be, because that's Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue at the beginning, and that should. From what I understand, that is not under copyright anymore.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
supposed to be public domain now.
Yeah.
So, oh, sorry, did not.
Oh, did not come up. Okay, it did
Okay.
not come up. Okay, yeah,
All
so
right.
yeah, I see.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Right.
Trico Luckin says that looks badass. I love pulp and golden age comics.
Yeah.
So, so I gotta ask you, because you are, the book is themed at a golden age of pulp books. Are you gonna print it on newsprint? I just gotta know.
Yeah,
already
it's
said,
going to be
yeah.
on newsprint.
Yeah, it'll be
Yeah,
on
it's going to be on newsprint.
Oh, my heart! How could you do this to me, doctor? You're supposed to be a doctor. How could you hurt me? Is there what happened to your oath to do no harm? No, we have a running gag on the show that I hate newsprint, but I do.
Well,
believe...
I didn't say I was a medical doctor.
No.
I'm the lore doctor.
Yeah. So now we can't see any tears, and I'm pretty sure you're not ready to tell us that yet. But April 3rd, are you concerned about launching yet on April 3rd?
Well, this is my first Indiegogo, so yeah, so I'm a little worried, but at the same time, I'm like, I think it will do well. The major concern I have is that I'm not really well known, right? So we're just starting out. I have no illusions of this being like Earthworm Jim or Cyber Frog, anywhere near that level. Yeah, obviously, most people are not. But I'm hopeful that we can at least make enough to get the book out there.
Cool.
Well, yeah, you have.
And as long as we can get about 450 backers at the lowest tier, that will be enough to do it. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Any you want to give us any like hints about what we might see as a tier in the
well, so far we have.
campaign?
Yes. Well, so far we have. We're going to have the lowest tier is just going to be a copy of the comic. Then we'll have another tier that gets you 2 copies. The third tier will be a copy of the comic that's signed by me. And then we're also going to have 2 tier slots where for $200 you can be a background character in the comic.
Sweet, that's cool. And you have, I think, as long as you, now that you're doing this, especially, you're gonna have to keep everyone up to date. But are you, and you're not, obviously, you're not gonna push the date back to launch. I think that if anything, crowdfunding has shown us that maybe people aren't too afraid to back books still. They because conventions are canceling, but Indiegogo Kickstarter still seems strong. People still are going out and backing books. Is that
Comics go on?
Yeah, everything. Yeah, comics go on. I like that logo too, by the way. The Death Ray out to Vindictus. I'm just hoping that there's some type of little 3D Death Ray perk in there in the tier. I'm just throwing ideas out there.
I kind of followed the DC route a little bit in that the cities within the comic book world are not real world cities, but they're based on real world cities, right? So, for instance, the Cloaked Avenger in the comic, he's from Bay Harbor City, which is actually an analog for Galveston, Texas.
Okay.
Right, and the Dr. Vindictus himself, he's planning to destroy Buffalo Bayou City, which is an analog for Houston.
Okay. And now he's going to.
And of course, this is 1930s time frame, right?
Yeah.
And he's got his Death Ray mounted on a classic seaplane. one of the classic 1930 seaplanes.
Yeah.
That'll be cool. Are you now? Who's doing the? Now, I didn't see the artist and writer on there. Tell us a little bit about people who are putting the book together.
Okay, so I'm the writer. I wrote the story.
Right.
Okay, I'm also going to be doing the lettering.
Okay.
The artist for the pencils and inks is a guy named Trevor Nielsen. And then my wife, Serena Sketches, is the one doing the coloring.
Ah, you put the wife in there. That's smart. They do free. They do cheap labor. At least mine does. She has colored a book of mine before. It's pretty fun too because she didn't know. Oh, that's the question we got earlier. We'll bring that question up too, Randy. Now,
what was the question?
No, the question.
We'll bring it up in a minute.
We'll bring the question
we're
up.
We're still talking about your book. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that when it does open on April 3rd, I know you got a backer here in me. That seems pretty interesting. I want to see where you go. Now, is this going to be a self-contained story? How many pages are we looking at?
This one is going to be 28 pages.
Okay.
Okay. The actual comic is going to be a little bit longer than that because we're going to go for 40 full pages, but 28 pages of story and then 12 pages of extras.
Okay.
Right. And
with the kind of feel. Sorry,
sorry,
Doctor, to step on you. With the kind of feel that your book is, you could almost run a couple of short stories in the back as
that's
additional
possible.
tiers. Yeah.
That's possible.
That would be cool.
Another thought we had, although we're not sure if we want to do this, is to add in a short story that's a prequel to our other series that we're doing. My wife Serena is actually doing all the art on this other project we're doing called the Duskbringer Saga.
Okay.
And that one's going to be a series. We've got 10 issues, each of them 30 pages in length.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So now when the campaign launches, you're definitely going to have to come back on. And,
oh yes, definitely.
We're gonna have to keep up with everything going on, like the numbers, what kind of numbers you're pulling, because we want to help you get this thing funded. It looks really good. I definitely like that pulpy style myself, though. I mean, I despite me talking about pulp and
how much you
books.
hate newsprint.
Yeah, I do like that era, and I do like that era of entertainment. So this looks pretty cool.
Looks very classic.
Yeah,
that's what it looks like. That's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, April 3rd. Everybody put this on your calendar. We will remind you.
This is only the first of many campaigns to come for me because I've actually written, in addition to this, I've written probably about a dozen other comics that are in the works here and there with different artists.
And
that reminds me, Varian, we really didn't introduce ourselves, let alone introduce Dr. Lore.
Yeah, we didn't, did we? Wow, we just jumped right into it. Everyone knows us, though.
Sorry about that, folks. If you're listening on iNDIEVOLT Radio, we're all just comic people doing the indie alternative comic thing. So,
it's been what, close to a year now. People should know us. We should be stars.
Oh no, but we're attracting new people all the time. Yesterday we had was it yesterday or Tuesday? We had 6,000 people listening.
Yeah, 6,000 people
on iNDIEVOLT Radio. What's our number today?
Number on iNDIEVOLT Radio this morning, right now, we are at 3364. Yeah, okay, 3364.
That's crazy.
Just under the 67. So 3367.
Well, we appreciate each and every one of you, no matter where you're from.
Yeah, we really appreciate that.
Listening. Yes.
And if you want to see our lovely faces or see some of this lovely art, you can log on over to our YouTube and check it out there, and even get in the chat and talk and bother people like Rob. And
not today. We should all just stop our cameras and just continue on. Here we go.
By the way, this comic, Deathbed of Dr. Vindictus, is actually based on a short story that I wrote several years ago. And if any of you are interested in reading the short story that the comic is based off of, that one's already been published. It's on Amazon. The title is Dragon Hill and Other Stories.
Dragon Hill and Other Stories.
So is that an anthology collection of your short stories on there?
It's got 4 of my short stories in it.
There you go. Okay, cool.
All of which I have adapted into comic book scripts.
Okay, awesome.
Although this one will be the first one that is completed.
Okay. Yeah, so you can check that out. Is that your... I see a name up there. Is that your name?
Yes.
Okay, I won't say it.
Okay.
I don't want to dox anybody, but still. No, but it is that looks pretty good too. I'm looking at the cover of that. That looks nice. Are you yeah, so and you got that it's on Kindle and paperback. So yeah, you can get that, pick it up from Amazon. And then you get a jump start on Dr. Vindictus, which I love that name too. It's so sinister. Dr. Vindictus.
It's just classic
now
pulp, you know.
Mm-hmm. One of the other short stories in there, called The Darkness, has been. I've converted that into a script for another comic book, and I'm actually been in discussion with Matthew Weldon. He might be doing that one with me. We'll see. He's got a really busy schedule, and he's been pretty swamped with a bunch of stuff, so we'll see.
Everybody's it's good to hear about people in the industry being swamped, but it sucks when it's your project. They can't do because they're swamped or they're delayed on. But it really is cool to hear people are working. This looks great. Are you gonna have
I've got a couple projects I'm also working on with Jeff Lasley. I don't know if any of you guys know him. He did art on the first Lone Wolf comic.
Okay. Yep. Are you going to have any digital tiers with this book?
I'm sorry?
Are you going to have
digital?
Any digital?
I'm kind of shying away from the digital.
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of doing that, at least not for the comics. When it's like novels and so on like that, I'm okay with it. But for this, I'm sticking to physical.
Okay. Now, if April 3rd you're launching, when are you guys thinking you'll be able to have this in backers' hands?
Well, this campaign is going to run for 2 months, so it'll go till beginning of June, and at that point is when we plan to send it to the printer. Okay. From that point on, I believe it takes about 3 months, so we're looking probably in the fall.
Okay.
I can't nail it down to a specific date more than that, but sometime in the fall is what we're looking at. Hopefully by September, but
yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, that seems like a very a schedule I'd be happy with. Sometimes you back these books and they put the deadline several months back.
Well, one thing I did with this, and I wanted to make sure that we were pretty far along before launching the campaign. I didn't want to launch the campaign and the book has barely even been started, you know, because, when that happens, then, it might be a year, before you can get it into the backer's hands. But this one, all of the interior pages have already been drawn.
Okay.
Awesome.
And about, I think, 6 pages now have been colored.
Cool.
Out of the 20.
So a lot of this, then it's fair to say a lot of this you put your own money into first, then.
Well, for paying the artist,
yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. That's that's the way I feel like it should be. Like the book needs to be in some completed form somewhere. At least if the art is done and you can say, hey, we're gonna get this book in your hands. All we're waiting for is colors and letters. Rob Anderson, who's in the chat, he normally has a book finished completely before he goes to crowdfunding because he's gonna print it anyway. He's kind of using crowdfunding as a pre-order platform.
Right.
And I think that's very smart
and
too,
the lettering is
and
the lettering is something that takes the least amount of time when you're putting the good book together. The inks and the colors, that takes a lot longer.
Yeah. Randy, we talk about it on the show a lot, but having that book done, you can also go. You can also make it that you can also have it where people now are really impressed with how fast you got the book to them, because you keep that, maybe kind of keep that in your back pocket sometimes. Oh yeah, the book's almost completed, we're gonna have it to you.
Yeah.
And
well, not only that, it gives you the entire campaign time period to focus on that campaign and try to generate as much funds as possible. And it gives you more stuff to preview as you go along. You can always say, well, here's page 20, page 25. This book's all done. It's just waiting for you to back it. And you can be rest assured. Gives the investor a little more confidence, or the person investing in the campaign more confidence that not only will they get it in a timely manner, but it'll come out.
Exceeding the expectations. Exceeding the expectations of what they're going to get.
That's the key to good salesmanship, though, is exceeding expectations. I need to jump tracks just for a second. Say hello to Alexandria, who's listening on Facebook. And Ralph mentions in my on my Facebook page, for some reason this morning, Breakfast Buzz is not on my YouTube regular subscription feed. Just an FYI. Still watching via Facebook. So you want to make sure that you like this video, that you've subscribed to iNDIEVOLT channel, and that you ring that bell for notifications, and you make sure that that bell is still rung, because especially right now, YouTube and Google and Facebook's algorithms are going wonky, because there's like nobody in the office to keep them remotely straight and care about them on a real regular basis. So you might have been unsubscribed, you might have been unnotified. So make sure that bell's rung. Make sure that you like this channel, and in order to get notifications from us, especially right now, because we have a tendency to break in at oddball hours with announcements and news. So you never know when we'll be live on iNDIEVOLT.
Tricos is mine didn't load on YouTube either. It shows I'm subscribed, but no notice. Luckily, Facebook showed me. Yeah, we're gonna have to send a strongly worded email to YouTube.
Alexandria actually added into the chat. Hey, Randy. Hey, Alexandria. Nice to see you aboard and contributing. Thank you.
And Rob says, Varian, you want to announce the name of this weekend's OnCon? Oh, did we name that? I'm sorry, I'm drawing blanks. We had a show last night that went off the rails, and it's safe to say,
as Geekgasm usually does. That's on Wednesdays at 9 p.m.
Yeah, hosted by Lola, and safe to say, I will never have that panel back again at the same time.
Hosted by the beautiful Lola.
That panel was,
since it's your wife.
That panel was horrible. It was so tense. I'm just kidding. It was a great show. It was
a really good show. Don't let him fool you.
Now we're gonna put some questions.
That's Geekgasm only on iNDIEVOLT.
That's right. Wednesdays at 9 p.m. We are going to ask some questions from iNDIEVOLT Radio, and Dr. Laura, we'd like you to chime in and answer and weigh in on some of these questions.
But before we do that, before we go to those questions, let's talk to Dr. Laura for a minute. Doctor, how long have you been in comics?
Let's see here.
Give us your background. Your any other books of yours other than the anthology that you have on Amazon that we should be looking out for?
Well, I've published two nonfiction books in the area of history.
Cool.
One of them is called The Phoenix of Albion, English Renaissance in the Wake of the Pestilence of 1348. It's about English social and cultural changes in the late Middle Ages.
Wow.
My main field of study and my main background is in history. I've taught as a history professor and also as a high school history teacher.
Just like Trico here in the chat, he's also trained to teach history. His specialty, I believe, is the Roman Empire.
Ah, okay. Well, my master's covered everything from ancient Greece and Rome all the way up through Europe during the Renaissance period. But my focus for my thesis was on English history in the 1400s.
Cool.
I also have a collection of historical essays called Essays on Western Civilization that I published. And I also put out my own edition of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer with my historical notes explaining things in the text.
Kind of an annotated version?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
And I've completed a novel that I haven't published yet, which is called Phoenix Ashes. It's a post-apocalyptic novel set in rural East Texas after there's been a nuclear war.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I was Rob. You're right. It's gonna be INDIEVOLT presents in OnCon this weekend. We're gonna do some have people on talking about their comics again, and trying to make some good sales, because that's what we want to do. We want to make sure people are still, the creators are still selling their books during this lean period where we don't have any cons. Rob, I want to make sure I did address that.
And not just not having any cons, but people are stuck inside desperately looking for good entertainment, which is really starting to thin out. So
yeah, it is.
we want to point people to some fun, some entertainment, and some good times.
I was gonna ask. I just wanted to pick on Trico. He sent a message. I was gonna ask Trico, "Where's your thesis?"
Oh well, he just Trico. I hope you don't mind if we point this out. He just wrote to our message group that he needs to get his butt in gear and start writing. Says this Dr. Lore guy is making me look bad.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna. Where's your thesis, Trico? I'm just kidding. And so when people pick on my comics now, and when Trico picks on my comics, I'm gonna pick on his thesis.
Well, it's just that comics is such an amazing medium, and you never know the background of the creators until you actually stop and ask. You know.
Yeah, and it's funny.
Going back to your questions though, about how long I've been in comics. I started writing a couple years ago.
Okay.
And I started off basically converting some of the stories I'd already written into comic book scripts. So,
sure, yeah.
So those 4 short stories, I've converted those all into scripts. My novel, Phoenix Ashes, I actually converted that into a 7-issue series that I've completely written now.
Sweet.
I also wrote a script for a novel that my wife did, converting that into a comic book script.
What is? Can I ask what that's about?
The one that she wrote, it's called The Spider in the Cracked Mirror, and it's a coming of age. I guess you would call it a fantasy sci-fi.
Okay.
All right, about a young boy who gets taken by this creature called a spider, spelled with a Y, but he's basically how shall I describe it? Think of like a centaur, except the lower half, instead of being a horse, the spider.
Okay.
All right.
Visually, that sounds really cool.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting story.
Yeah.
So I did a script for that. I also did a 10-issue series called The Duskbringer Saga that's set in a fantasy world I've been creating for the past 4, almost 5 years now. Created a fantasy world called Anarheimer, where I have like 32 distinct cultures within the world that I've created, 25 different fantasy races.
Wow. I'm really loving this, Doctor. That's great. That's crazy, imaginative, and sounds really cool.
I just want to say something here. Now, you hear that, and you think about the people that we've met that have come on this show, and sometimes what you guys don't know is that when the show ends, we'll sit in the off air and we'll talk for a while, and we kind of have conversations just like this, and it's really interesting to find out some of the backgrounds of people and the backgrounds we should be amazed by and locked on and really talking about, instead of who he decides to vote for. Yeah. This is someone who's created a whole vast universe of characters,
multiple universes of characters.
Yeah, and more people will be concerned about, well, who did you vote for in yesterday's election, rather than that type of stuff. And that's what we need to stop. We need to stop that. We need to start thinking about what have you what are you contributing to the art form, and that's why I think comics will, again, like you said, Randy, comics marches on. It attracts some of the brightest minds out there. I mean, look at me. I'm a certified genius. And here I am.
A genius?
No, you know what's
when
funny?
When did this suddenly spring up, buddy? You took an IQ test? You're taking those IQ tests on Facebook again, aren't you?
Yes.
Dang it.
Yeah, I have to take those. It's one of those things where
I don't trust him because I got a 206 on one. So.
A 206. It's not bad. It's not bad. Dr. Laura, have you taken one of those? Do you know? Not,
and
have you taken
I
an actual IQ test?
No, he's busy writing books. Silly.
Well, I've taken a couple. I've taken a couple.
Yeah, well,
gotten a couple different results too.
Well, what it really upset me is because my sister is a 999. That's like Mensa, and then there's 999s, and she joined a 999 society, and I feel a cacophony of emotions about that, and I don't want to subject myself to an IQ test. I'm afraid what I might find out. So, because
I haven't taken the Mensa one yet.
Yeah,
I've been thinking about it, but I haven't done that yet.
I feel really dumb. So, at the end of the day, I'm like, that was stupid. Why'd I do that? And so I don't want to take an IQ test. I'm afraid.
Some things you just don't want to know.
No, yeah. So, Randy, should we jump into some of the questions? Because we got some questions from INDIEVOLT Radio, and we got some questions from and a question you wanted to talk about last night that we didn't get a chance to address.
Yeah, no, I'm good. Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever you want to do.
All right, let's check this out. So we had a question, and of course,
I just didn't want to slight our guest. And,
no, I understand.
I'm really glad that we didn't, because it's great to hear his background. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's one of the things that we don't get a chance to do that much on the show, and talk to people about, again, their background, and learn that their professor who.
Well, your experience goes into your work,
Yeah, who's created so much. Again, it would be really cool to have Dr. Lore and Trico both on.
Or it might turn, all history, and we watch our viewership drop, depending upon the subject matter. But history can be really exciting and very interesting.
History can be very interesting, especially if you start getting into things that aren't usually covered, because in my experience, most history professors tend to focus on names and dates a lot, and that can be very dry.
Yeah.
I like to get into whenever I was teaching, I like to get into the customs, the strange customs of the people, and how they actually lived. What was it like for just your average person in that time period and that place?
Mm-hmm.
Things of that sort. What are some of the cultural norms that were different, and what are some that were the same?
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I've been studying this for no reason at all. I've been looking into art history a lot lately, and if you look at the provenance of the Mona Lisa, well, it's kind of like the provenance of who's actually been in possession of the painting. One name in there is kind of odd. It says, in the possession of Picasso. Picasso actually went to jail for having the Mona Lisa, because a friend of his stole it and gave it to him. And they were arrested and put in prison. And they realized that Picasso and I forget the poet that was with him were innocent, and they let them go. But so it says in the actual the provenance sheet of the Mona Lisa, at one point it was in possession of Picasso.
Wow, I didn't know that about Picasso.
Yeah.
Now the most interesting story I heard about Picasso had to do with his painting of the bombing of Guernica.
Mm-hmm.
Because now Picasso, he was living in Paris during the Second World War, when Paris was occupied by the Germans.
Yeah.
And he actually helped out and gave aid to the French resistance fighters. But there was one point when his apartment was busted into by the SS, I think it was, or the Gestapo, and they were doing a search, and one of the officers saw a copy or a print of Picasso's Guernica sitting there, and he points at it and he says, "Did you do this?" And Picasso just looked at him and said, "No, you did."
Oh, there you go.
Because Guernica, was bombed by the Germans.
Yeah.
By the German Luftwaffe.
Yeah.
So that's the story of Picasso I found most interesting.
Yeah, that is. We're going to put this question up here from yesterday, and we can all weigh in on it. It says, do you want to read it or want me to read it?
Yeah, why are indie comics not pushing the envelope on what's allowed in comics? you guys used to have balls. Now you're all trying to follow fucking Marvel. There's our. Let me throw our warning up there of NC DSLV.
Yeah.
Yeah, MA. Remember, we are for mature audiences only. DLSV, where the D stands for diversity.
Well, most of my comics are probably going to be more the MA level. This one, the Death Ray of Dr. Vindictus, is not. It's more PG.
That's the impression we got. More like a Golden Age comic. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very PG. I think and when it comes to language, like the strongest language you have is like one character says crap at one point, and one character uses the word uses the phrase "what the hell."
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Yep.
And then there was one point where I kind of do a fake out where it looks like a character is about to use the F word, but then he says fudge.
Do you think that we're not pushing the envelope, Randy? Do you think that we've all
Craig's looking at more of the mainstream indie comics, like from some of these companies that have turned into IP farms, and they're trying to be safe and they're trying to attract Hollywood because they think that that's where the money is. But Craig, you need to dig a little, keep digging, dig a little deeper.
Now, what exactly are we referring to when we talk about pushing the envelope? Though? I mean, what are you talking about? Like language, nudity? What are we talking about exactly?
Well, nowadays, when you try to push the envelope, they assume that whatever topic you're covering is something that you do personally. Very much how Robert Crumb has been vilified as being a complete weirdo because of the material that he did during the underground movement. You know, obviously you must be into that kind of stuff if you did, you know. But back then they were genuinely pushing the envelope. They had just gotten off of the comics code and realized that they can do comics, sequential art. They can cover everything and anything. So let's see.
That's kind of
how
a very
far
weird.
We can push that.
That's kind of a weird way to think, though. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I don't run around in tights and a mask, you know.
No, but it is kind of modern mainstream stuff. A lot of that comes from, I won't say, what would you say, diversity hires, or trying to hire the person that knows the material the most in order to write. They have to have black authors doing black characters and gay authors doing gay characters.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
right.
Nobody's out there really in mainstream really pushing boundaries on comics. Is this what do you think about this or that? You don't see very many people doing work like Boiled Angel, if you're familiar with that, out there. There's not a lot of blasphemous comics out there the way that used to be. But if you dig deeper, you'll see that there are guys out there doing that kind of material. It's just that you're not going to find it in the mainstream or the mainstream books because they're worried about the angry mom mob. Coming up and complaining.
Traco says, indie comics need to push the envelope. The indie devil says, hold my beer.
Rob is an excellent example of that, of working not really to test limits as much as to educate people about those limits.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
Now the
one thing though, and this is kind of my philosophy on this a little bit, is when it comes to having content that some people might find objectionable in a comic, okay, I'm okay with having some of that in a comic that I write, and I do have some content in some of my stories that some people might find objectionable, but it has to serve the story. You don't put it in just to put it in, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So if it makes sense in the context of the story, then that's fine, you know, to a certain extent, obviously. Now, one thing I don't do, just because it's not my thing, is I don't do graphic sexual content, right? And you know,
Sure.
Other writers do, and that's fine. But I don't do that myself.
Yeah.
Right. Language is a different story. Violence is a different story. You know. But
right. On certain works, you know.
Ralph says,
oh yes. Like for
It's got
instance,
to serve
with the
the
Death Ray
story.
of Dr. Vindictus, it doesn't make sense in the context of the story to have all that.
Yeah.
You know.
Ralph says envelope pushing is still out there if you look hard enough. Yeah, it is. I've seen some books that have. I got one about a foot from me that really pushed the envelope. But yeah, I do think that but I will say at the same time that Craig does have a point. I've seen some indie guys who are like bottom of the indies putting out comics that are very in the same vein of what the mainstream is currently doing. Safe.
It's the IP farms that drive me crazy. They do the same style of property over and over and over again. Well, maybe if we change the bat to a rat, we could actually attract Hollywood. Yeah. That kind of stuff that drives me crazy. Yeah. And Craig, we're in such a as somebody said yesterday or the day before about the crowdfunding era. We are in such an age of the Wild West when it comes to comics, almost a new golden age as far as material that you can do, because crowdfunding is only limited by the amount of money that you can generate in. Don't be afraid to get out there if you don't think that that there's a hole there in comics that's missing. Don't be afraid to get out there and try to do a little bit of envelope pushing yourself.
Yeah.
And we would all welcome that. And believe me, the envelopes absolutely need to be pushed as often as possible. So as long as it's not overly gratuitous or way, I don't even know if that would apply even, because the market would dictate what you can and cannot do, I would think, especially the crowdfunding market.
Yeah, I think that with the crowdfunding market now, you don't. I mean, it's an unknown. You might not get funding. Might have the best idea ever too, but I see. I mean, Randy. Actually, no, it was on Rob's show. We looked at some properties that people had threw up, and there's one that's getting ready to fail spectacularly. The gentleman put no art up. He just said, "Hey, here's what I'm doing. Here's my book. Back it. I need $5,000." And he's got $15, and he closes in 12 days. So yeah, he's not gonna make it.
Well, everybody's allowed to try.
Whether
or not you're gonna make it is it's completely up to the audience and the amount of audience that you attract.
Yeah,
there's plenty of spaces out there for a lot of just phenomenal niche books out there, especially in comics, because here in the States especially, we've barely scratched the surface of genres and the possibilities that sequential art could go into.
And we had a gentleman who writes in quite frequently. He actually is from Mexico, and he wants to know. He's listening in on INDIEVOLT Radio, and he wants to know if will you be taking international backers for Dr. Lore? Not Dr. Lore. Well, yeah, Dr. Lore. He wants to know if you'll be taking
Dr. Vindictus.
Yeah, Dr. Vindictus. Yeah.
Oh, the Dr. Vindictus. Yes. Now the shipping will cost a bit more for international.
Because it has
so I can't remember. I think we're looking at $25 maybe for the shipping, depending. So obviously shipping is going to be a little cheaper if you're within the continental U.S. just because of where we're shipping from.
Any plans on Dr. Vindictus old style radio show? That'd be kind of cool.
What was that?
Any plans on a Dr. Vindictus old style radio show?
An old style radio drama.
Oh well, that sounds interesting. I don't know who would do it
though. What's funny is that Randy was on a radio station up in is that
a local
Flint,
radio
Randy?
Station here in Flint. Yeah, it's on the web.
That was
the Tom Sumner program, and we did a lot of radio dramatizations.
And I remember hearing Randy on one of my
public domain scripts. Yeah.
I'm like, I know that voice. Who was that? And then I realized it was Randy, and I'm like, oh crap, that's pretty cool. But yeah, it actually made me go back and start listening to a lot of those old radio dramas, and they're pretty cool.
The cool thing about the property with the Dr. Vindictus is you can go back to any of those old golden age formats and utilize them. Tell awesome stories using those characters.
Right.
In other words,
well, for something like that, I would need to find some people that are good at doing the voice acting.
Yeah.
But not only that, but ones that can do the old style radio voices.
Yeah.
You know,
That
because
old-
the standard accent that was used in radio back then is a little different than what we used to hear
the
today.
transatlantic, right?
They were
Right.
enunciating a lot more clearer.
Yeah, I can't do it, but it was something like this when you talk. You have to. It was pretty. Yeah, I mean, I've listened to a lot of X-1, and
Unless we're talking gangsters, and then they had that kind of now see here, you know, that kind of James Cagney
yeah.
sort of.
Yeah, hey, bro.
You know, I
We're
didn't
heading
get
over here.
when listening to X-1, they all say robot.
Robot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a new robot, John? Yes. Don't go near the robot. It's what is a robot? I know what a robot is. What's a robot? But I mean, I guess that was the pronunciation of the day.
Words were new. The word was new. So
Yeah.
it's taken a long time for a slang leaning to pop up.
It's like I used to say debris. Apparently, it's debris. It's debris. Yeah, it's something. It's not debris. Apparently, it's a different term. It's a different
Pronunciations change and evolve, just like anything, you know.
Well, there's some things that I have kind of a pet peeve over when it comes to pronunciation, where most people pronounce it a certain way. I'm just like, that sounds weird to me, you know.
Yeah.
Like for instance, the fish. I say salmon, but most people say salmon. I'm like, there's an L in it.
Yep.
Yeah. And then well, now you're in Texas, so
Yeah.
there's the phrase "y'all have." Like we could have met you there if y'all have waited.
Well, y'all is used down here a lot. Not as much as you might think, though. It depends on where you are in Texas.
Okay.
Because here in Texas, it's about 80% urban, and most people that live in the city don't really have the quote-unquote Texas accent.
Mm-hmm.
You only really hear that, well, with the exception of maybe Dallas. Dallas-Fort Worth, or you hear it a little bit more there.
Mm-hmm.
But
Cattle country.
mostly it's out in the country that you hear the stronger accent like that.
Yeah.
People that grew up in the country,
I'm still amazed that I can go to Ohio and start picking up Southern accents. It's like what are you doing? And they have.
You get far enough in Ohio, and suddenly you're south. So.
Well, it depends on Ohio. It depends on what part of Ohio. Southern Ohio is a lot different than Northern Ohio. I used to live in Ohio, so I kind of know.
I'm sorry.
It's just like here in Michigan. As soon as you cross that Bay City line, you're up north.
Yeah, especially
when I was in Ohio, I was in the Cincinnati area. So
okay.
But
This
this was a long time ago. This is probably that's probably been almost 30 years now.
Yeah, I do go to Ohio quite a bit for cons. I'm like in Sterling Heights, Michigan, but I go to Ohio quite a bit, and I've always kind of considered, begrudgingly, I kind of consider Ohio like a second home. But I'm always shocked when I go down there and I see Buckeye stuff, especially when I'm at a con. I'm like, are you crazy? Then I realize where I'm at.
Yeah.
And I can't say anything to them.
Nope. James Eric Hudson's in the Eric's in the chat. Says old radio programs are the bee's knees.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, X-1 is one, and there's a couple other ones I listen to now. The wife hates them.
Just about everything in there is incredible. I love listening to Duffy's Tavern. So every episode starts with a phone call that the bartender picks up. Hello, Duffy's Tavern. We're the elite meat to eat. Duffy ain't here.
So this is
that almost sounded like Mo Sizlak.
Thanks.
Getting back to the death ray Dr. Vindictus, which is again, everyone, it's gonna be funding starting April 3rd on Indiegogo. We're gonna put the link in the description. But looking at it, this is issue 1. Is it going to be issue or is it issue?
This is a one shot, right?
It's a one shot.
This is a one shot. This is a self-contained story. So
sweet.
The whole story is within this one issue.
So are you thinking about continuing? Do you have any more stories maybe in mind for this series?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't written any more. It's always possible. The way that it ends kind of leaves it open to where there could be potentially another story at some point.
Mm-hmm.
and it wouldn't necessarily even be the same comic because the comic book, it being a magic comic book, the whole story and the whole layout of the comic book could change.
Yeah.
So there could be another story where a kid picks up a comic book and it gets pulled into a completely different story.
Oh, comics are magic.
Or even a different age. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like it's like think of like how in Jumanji, it's Jumanji, and then look at Zathura. It's basically the same concept, but it's a different world that the kids are getting pulled into in each different story.
Right. Yeah.
That's the Death Ray of Dr. Vindictus, which will be on Indiegogo starting on April 3rd. You can sign up now on Indiegogo under what, the Death Ray of Dr. Vindictus, or can they find you under Death Ray, under Dr. Vindictus?
Oh, you mean on Indiegogo?
Yeah.
Well, it's the Death Ray of Dr. Just look up the Death Ray of Dr. Vindictus.
I'd start with Death Ray and on search and see how that pops up.
Yeah.
So, and they can definitely sign up for notifications on that page, right?
Right. Now the main page isn't up yet, but we have the pre-launch page.
Right. The pre-launch page is there.
Yeah.
Right.
Pre-launch page is there, as well as and you can sign up for up-to-the-minute updates, and they will let you know when the campaign goes.
Starts. Yep.
Yeah,
when it's time.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I mean, again, the art, if you're listening on IndieVolt Radio, definitely pop over there and check out the book. And there's a video, and as well at the bottom of the page, it's got 2 pieces of art. One with 2 of the characters. Says Joy doesn't think there will be anything good at the yard sale, but is then handed a box of comics. And, he's told us a little bit what's going to happen in the story. So,
and the yard sale guy, you might notice he looks a little familiar.
I was gonna say that, and I'm gonna put him on screen. Wait a minute, I have a question for you. I was gonna say that, but I didn't want to. But that yard sale guy, is that Doug?
Yes, he's modeled after Doug TenNapel. Yes.
I was gonna say, like, this Doug TenNapel looking guy is gonna that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
And just so you know, there is one part in the yard sale where you'll see a T-shirt that has kind of a little joke on it. That might be a little familiar to you because of another campaign that started up recently. It has nothing to do with this other campaign. Just so you know, we came up with this a month ago.
Okay. Now I gotta look for it. I don't see it in the background, but.
It's not on any of those images, but yeah,
okay.
There's a T-shirt where you see Dirtworm Doug.
Oh.
We actually came up with that like a year ago, though. So
really, so independently of what happened,
yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, but with us, it's just kind of a teasing,
Yeah.
It's all nice. We're friends with Doug, so
yeah. He's. Well, you're friends with him right now when that book comes out. I'm joking, but yeah, that does look it does look really good, and I'm
looks
definitely
awesome.
gonna.
Looks awesome.
That's one that I think I'll be backing as well. So you are offering international shipping. We do have another question from IndieVolt Radio, and it is again about age groups and age ratings. What do you think? Who gets this book? What age is appropriate? Can I give it to my 9-year-old?
Oh, I would say so. Yes. I was going to say probably like 10 and up. 8 and up would probably be fine too. I mean, it depends, on whether you think the only thing that some people might find slightly objectionable is that at one point the dad says, "What the hell?" So if you think that's too strong for your 8-year-old, then don't give it to him. But
other than that,
that's as strong as it gets.
Yeah, it'd be right on the level of a typical Golden Age comic.
Yeah. It's very, I would say, at the very PG level. There's not a bunch of cursing in it. There's not there's no blood and gore.
And I don't know if we discussed this, and you might not want to. I don't know if you want to mention it, but I know again, April 3rd. I keep mentioning it. Campaign opens, but
Andy freezes as we see the whirling circle of death there. So he has trouble every once in a while with his system, Dr. Lore. So, It doesn't look like he's coming back real fast. So let's just repeat. April 3rd, the preview page is up on Indiegogo. And is there anything else that you want to tell us about Dr. Lore? Or not Dr. Lore, but the death ray of Dr. Vindictus that we haven't covered yet?
I don't know if I could go into much more detail without getting into spoiler territory.
Okay. Understood.
So,
Understood. Well, I love it. I think it
well.
looks great, but that's right in my wheelhouse. So I'm going to be looking forward to backing that book.
Okay. The next campaign that we're going to be doing, I'm hoping we'll be ready for it in about the time this one ships. So hopefully around September time frame, I'm hoping we'll be ready to launch our next one, which will be issue 1 of the Dustbringer saga.
Okay.
And that one's probably going to be more rated M level, you know, older teens and up, you know.
Right.
It's fantasy, but it's very it's a bit more graphic. I wouldn't say quite at the level of Game of Thrones, not to that level, because we don't do those.
You'd label it a dark fantasy, though.
Probably, yeah. I would say that, yeah. Dark fantasy. There is some blood and gore, you know.
Very interesting. Out. He'll be right back.
Occasionally, maybe some implied nudity or something like that, you know. But
gotcha.
it's going to be mostly for the violence.
Kind of a PG-13 audience.
Maybe light R.
Light R. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe light R for the violence. Like, have you ever watched movies like Braveheart, you know, or The Patriot, you know?
Sure. Yep.
Something along that level.
And he's back, and his camera is up.
Yeah, sorry, I ended up
I'll turn my camera back on too.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. It was weird.
You got tossed. That's what happened.
Yeah, I brought the campaign back up because I was going to ask about how much he was hoping to raise altogether.
I keep telling you should let me do that.
Yeah.
I will pull that up right now.
Yeah. Go ahead.
We're looking to raise at least 4,500.
Okay.
4,500 because we want to make sure we have enough to cover the cost of the printing and the shipping and all of that, you know. So 4,500 is probably what we're going to need as a bare minimum just to make sure that all that happens.
That's going to be 4,500 is a reasonable amount. I've seen people ask for 1,200. I thought 12,000. I've seen that recently on a campaign, but it is for a trade. But I thought that.
Well, I'm hoping we can raise 12,000.
Yeah.
4,500. We're probably not going to make any money off of it.
Okay.
But we'll probably make enough to at least cover the costs.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here.
It didn't pop up on Death Ray.
I went right to it.
Did you? Off of what?
I just typed it in.
I typed Death Ray of Dr. Vindictus, and I'm getting Vestige.
Now, I do have the Death Ray. Maybe that might make a difference. The Death Ray of Dr. Vindictus.
Yeah, give it a whirl.
Let's see here.
Nope, I'm still not getting it.
I got it.
Could we try Death Ray as two
the
words?
The Death Ray of Dr. Vindictus. You spell Vindictus Vindictus.
Yes.
And you're not getting it.
Are you doing Death Ray 1 or 2 words?
2
Maybe,
words.
You know what? I'm just going to try Dr. Vindictus.
Okay. Yeah, I went right to it. Funding, I'm saving it as a heart.
Yep, there it is. First one right up. So Dr. Vindictus, anybody that's listening, that'll get you there.
Good old Dr. Vindictus.
Yep.
He's just misunderstood bad guy. He's not real.
What did you want to see off of the preview page?
Well, no, I was asking him about the amount that he was hoping to raise, and he said 4,500.
Okay.
So because that's not on the page, but we will definitely announce it on INDIEVOLT.com when it does launch. That everybody's gonna make sure they get over there, and plus we'll have a show. We'll remind folks that it's up and they need to go back it quickly. Now you and I are we follow each other on Twitter. Are you going to be can you tell us about some of the tiers that you're thinking about or considering?
Yes, the tier for Dr. Vindictus. Yes, the first level tier, which I believe we got it set at $10, is that's just for a copy of the comic.
Okay.
right? And that's not including the shipping, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So $10 gets you a copy of the comic, $20 gets you 2 copies of the comic, $25 gets you 1 copy of the comic that's signed, and then the next tier up is $200, and that's we have two different ones. You can either get yourself drawn in as a background character on page 5, which is a ballroom scene, so you'll be like drawn in as a background character in formal clothing at a 1930s style ball.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other $200 tier slot will be you get to be drawn in as one of Dr. Vindictus' henchmen. One spot in the comic. Now.
One problem about that is if I go in with $200 and they gotta draw me in, it's gonna be a problem. Don't think I would have been allowed to be at a 1930s ball. In certain neighborhoods, but we can fix that. We can suspend disbelief just for a second, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think that it's a cool looking property though. I can't wait to read it. And then of course when you do have it ready, Randy, if you can put that on loop if you right click on the video. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, and again, I just really like the art from that, and your artist is, and again, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, the book is finished. Like the art is finished for the book. So this is a book.
The pencils and inks are finished. The coloring is not quite finished.
Right. Like the hard part. No, the
right.
art is done.
In fact, if you watch the video, the image of the death ray, that one was a color. When it was preliminary video.
The reason why I mentioned that is that. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say I'm hoping to have that one in color by the time I launch the main campaign. So the video on the main campaign will be all in color.
The reason why I mention that is that sometimes, and I'm not reading the question because we got a question from INDIEVOLT, that INDIEVOLT Radio, that was like.
What's our number on INDIEVOLT Radio?
INDIEVOLT Radio current number right now 5,768 people are listening.
Amazing. We appreciate each and every one of you out there.
We got our numbers are going up since quarantine. I gotta say,
yeah, it has.
I feel bad about saying that, but
on the other hand, people are finding us entertaining. So or at least worthy enough to listen to.
And one of the questions came from
appreciate that.
One of the questions came from right here in the old America, but that's why I keep mentioning it, that the art is finished. You're basically in coloring and lettering now, because this book is coming out because we recently had a situation where a creator disappeared for a couple of months and then came back and said, "Hey, the money's gone." And
so I heard about that.
Yeah. So we keep trying to reinstill people that these books, you're gonna run into a couple of problems here and there, but for the most part, these creators who are crowdfunding books definitely are putting out books. The intention is to put out a book. Mistakes are gonna be made, but there's a lot more.
Hopefully, a lot of us learn from those mistakes.
Yeah.
And one thing that I'm doing is I have opened up a separate bank account that any money that comes in for this campaign is going to go into there, and that money is going to be only spent on the campaign until everyone has their book.
That makes a lot of sense. Yep.
That way, there's no mistakes made along that line.
Yep. Have you figured out printing yet? Or are you going to be printing it at all, or are you still figuring that out?
We're looking at going with Peter Samedi.
Okay.
Cool.
For printing it through him. Partnership thing that he does. So yes, that's what we're looking at doing. Waiting to hear back on the final quote from him.
Good.
Since we're doing a 40-page instead of a 32, that's going to affect the cost just a little bit, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But
you never know with Peter with this kind of a product because it's so accessible to everybody. He might actually talk to you about doing it on the alternative side, just like Downcast. Eventually.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean,
I can see him printing a book like this very easily.
Right. Well, I thought about pitching it to him initially, but I was also told that he'd already chosen all the books for this year. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's got his schedule's lined up for a long time.
So it's probably gonna. If we did go through that, you probably wouldn't see the comic for quite a bit.
Yeah.
Longer.
Well, he's telling everybody to do the crowdfunding first and let him find them. So.
Right.
Yeah. Any variant cover possibilities for this?
But hey, if he came back and said, "Hey, yes, I would like to do this through Alternative," I'd be happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can do it that way, but we'll see.
Exactly.
I was asking if there's any variant cover possibilities with this book, or.
Well, that I wouldn't mind doing that. We haven't got that lined up yet, but yes, if anyone wants to volunteer to do a variant cover, then I would be happy with that. Yeah.
With a work like this, I think you'd be able to attract. Well, of course, you'd have to pay their rates, but somebody like a Howard Chaykin or William Kaluta to this kind of. It just seems to have that vibe to it.
Well, now, not Dr. Vindictus, but the next one that we're going to be coming out with, which is issue 1 of the Duskbringer saga. The cover for that is actually going to be colored by Kyle Ritter.
Okay, sweet.
So hopefully we'll have that campaign ready to launch sometime in the fall.
Yeah, I look forward to that.
That's my plan. That's the plan anyway.
I'm gonna put
but with my wife working on the coloring for Vindictus right now, that one's on the back burner for the moment.
Sure.
I'm gonna put the invite call-in link up for people if they want to join in, and if they have any questions for us. We are here. That link is in the chat right now.
Links in the chat. Welcome aboard.
Streams.
Come on in.
If you have any questions for the good doctor, Randy, or myself, that link is in the chat right now. So
that we're here for. Yeah. Come on in.
So again, $10. You said the $10 for this one copy. 20 for 2 was
right.
It? That's not including shipping and handling. That's not including shipping and handling. Yeah.
25 for a signed copy.
Right. Okay. 25 for a signed copy, and then there's another perk where you can $200 gets you drawn in as a character, right? In the background.
That's right.
Yeah. And then if you just want to throw money at them, I'm pretty sure if you want to throw them like $2 or $3 I'm pretty sure you can make something happen for you.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure we can do something.
Yeah. Do you? Let's see. I'll make that logo, Rob. I'll do something. I'll make it all fancy. I do need the one logo that you got though, the OnCon Connection logo. I may need that. So again, April 3rd. This is launching. You're going to have to, and we're going to make sure we have you back on.
In April, yeah, so we can help promote that campaign.
And probably a little, quite regularly, especially if you, we see it funding and it because how long do you think it make having the campaign run? Like a month, or are you gonna?
We're doing the 60-day one.
60. Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah.
Just to give us, make sure we have plenty of time.
Yeah.
And give people plenty of time too. Yep. I know that there have been a couple of campaigns that we would have liked to got in on, but we weren't able to do it during that time frame of the 30 days when the campaign was open. So
sure,
I want to make sure that I give people who want to be part of the campaign, give them a little bit more time to work with.
Yep.
Yeah, and especially when there's so many campaigns launching, right next to each other, and some of them, some of them are expensive, some of them aren't, depending on what perk you want. Some of them could be, $100 to get the book, and it's it's a nice size book, so of course it's worth that $100, but we don't have bottomless pockets, do we? Are you going to? I love that one character with the cape and everything on the hat.
Reminds me a lot of the spider.
Yeah, yeah. So, any other influences for this book besides I'm guessing like the shadow,
Zorro right there. Yeah.
Well, funny thing is, I actually based this off of a dream I had.
Okay.
I know that's probably going to sound really weird, but yeah, I had a dream where I was going through some of the experiences that these characters go through in the dream. not all of them. The dream didn't have as much detail,
Yeah.
So, but after I woke up, I wrote down what happened in my dream, and then I just kind of fleshed out a story out of that.
Just like the writer from Grim Reaper we had on, we had on the artist for that a couple of weeks back. The writer for that literally writes in his sleep. He wakes up and writes the plot out.
Well, that's the only.
He
This
comes
is
up
the
while
only
sleeping.
story where that's ever actually happened
Okay.
for me. Most of my stories, I get another idea, a spark, and then go from there. So, like for instance, with my Phoenix Ashes novel, I was driving through East Texas, and I was going across a bridge over the Angelina River, and a thought came into my mind: what if this bridge wasn't here, and someone was on foot, and they had to get across the river, and the water was somehow contaminated? How would they do it?
Okay.
And so that was kind of the spark that ended up turning into a full novel.
Cool.
Question from Rick from iNDIEVOLT Radio. He asks, being a history buff, do you get annoyed when people make historical inaccuracies in comics?
I
think Trico does. I think Trico does.
Trico does.
I would say sometimes. Now there's some historical inaccuracies that people have come to expect, though, right? So, for instance, when you see movies where you got a Roman soldier and he's wearing those like van braces on his forearms, Roman soldiers didn't actually wear those. That's a total invention of Hollywood, but it's become so prevalent, within fiction that people kind of, if you see a Roman soldier and he's not wearing them, a lot of people are like, well, why isn't he wearing those? Why doesn't he have van braces on? But it's more accurate for him not to have them on. But some people kind of expect it. So I'm not too worried about that. But there are some things that annoy me here and there. I've actually been able to do a little bit of background acting. I was on the, I don't know if you guys ever saw the TV show Salem. But I was a background actor.
That was on the, not UPN, WGN network.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
I believe that's the network it was on.
Yeah.
I was a background actor in seasons 2 and 3 on the 2 episodes, playing various background characters. One thing I noticed about that show that kind of annoyed me was the way that they did the church on the set, right? Because the church was kind of like on the set. The church was like long rectangular with a central aisle and pews on either side and a pulpit up in the front, right? And if you looked at the exterior of the building and the interior of the building, it was something that was much more indicative of New England in the 1820s as opposed to the 1690s when the show was supposed to be set.
Gotcha.
Because in the 1690s, the meeting houses for the Puritans were square with a square cupola in the center. They weren't long rectangular with the steeple. Right? The Puritans didn't do the steeples. Right?
Yeah.
That was an extravagance, right? And in the inside, it was not long rectangular with an aisle going down the center with pews on either side and the pulpit up front. Instead, the pulpit was in the very center of the square-shaped room, and then situated around it were various booths. Each family had their booth, and there were benches lining all the inside of the booths. So, another thing, they also had candelabras in the show.
Yeah.
And in the actual Puritan meeting houses, they didn't allow any open flames within the meeting house because the meeting house also served as the armory where they stored all the gunpowder.
Did you
that would make it dangerous.
Did you walk in? See, I would have been the type of person who walked in the set and say, "No, this isn't accurate. This isn't what happened." And I know I'd be that person.
No, I wasn't about to do that. I was an extra, so you don't. As an extra, you're not going to go up to the director and say, "Hey, this is all wrong."
That's not right. None of this is right.
Here's the problem, though. We kind of do it as comic book fans. Like, this isn't right. No, this is right. Why are we doing this?
But yeah, when we're trolling on Twitter.
Yeah, because people who watch the show, they know I did modeling as a child. And I remember we did it was right after Dick Tracy came out. Meyer did a Meyer Toy City commercial, and they dressed us all like Dick Tracy characters.
Myers is like a box store, like a Walmart up here. In
Right,
case you
right.
didn't know, Dr. Lore.
And it's
Okay.
Being from Texas,
it's
I don't think they had gotten down to even Cincinnati by the time you left.
I think I've been to Myers before. Y'all in Indianapolis too? They have those in Indianapolis?
I believe
They,
so.
yeah, they probably did.
Okay. I spent some time in Indianapolis as well back when I was 17. So.
Okay.
Yeah, they dress us all like Dick Tracy characters. The bright colored jackets, coats, pea coats or whatever you want to call them. The hats, suit ties, and the girls were all dressed like from that era. And it was a real cool commercial. A lot of fake snow, man. It got everywhere. But I remember walking. We had to walk around this corner like, oh, he must have did like at least 100 something takes of us walking around a corner, and they tell one kid to open paper and walk while reading the paper. They tell another kid, tell me to walk with the paper under my arm. They want it under this arm, the right arm. It was just a horrible shoot, but I did enjoy it. I mean, I got paid quite a bit for it, but I didn't have a speaking part either. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, it depends on the director, and what their vision is, and whether you're capturing their vision or not.
Mm-hmm.
When I was on Salem, there was one time when we were filming a sequence, and I was a dead body in a ditch for that one. But the director, I guess he ended up doing like several dozen takes, and it ended up being like a 16-hour day. Right.
Yeah.
And that was kind of grueling, but there was another time when I was being directed by Jennifer Lynch, and that's David Lynch's daughter. I don't know if you're familiar with David Lynch, but she was directing this episode, and I'd actually gotten picked to be the photo double for Marilyn Manson. So they were doing some close-up work where they had me in the outfit that Marilyn Manson normally wore. They picked me because I was the same size, so it was just some close-up work. So, like, if you ever watched the premiere or the promo rather for season 3 of Salem, there's a sequence where Marilyn Manson's character is talking, and then you see a hand reaching in to this apron and pulling out a straight razor.
Yeah.
When you see the close-up of the hand reaching and pulling out the straight razor, that's actually me, not Marilyn Manson.
That's cool. That's cool. I have to
Yeah,
see it. You have to shoot me a link of that if you have like on like you. I can probably look it up too.
Sure. I'll do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was interesting because that ended up being a very short thing. The director Jennifer Lynch, they said action. They had me do the action, and apparently I captured exactly what she wanted because she said that's perfect. We're going to shoot one more for safety, but I think we got it.
Yeah. See,
So,
now knowing that what'll happen, right? They'll make this into a movie, and they'll block you from the set because they know that you're going to come in there and say, "Wait a minute, this isn't right, and this isn't right, and this shouldn't be there." But yeah, so they'll definitely keep you. Let's keep that guy off the set. Don't let him come in here. Take him on the studio tour. The one that lasts for 3 months. Take him on that one.
Well, I was on the set of another movie. It was a football movie called My All American.
Mm-hmm.
It was about the Texas Longhorns in the 1969 season. And I remember there was one of the production assistants there was getting onto somebody because their top button was unbuttoned on their shirt. It's a guy, right? And she's playing a fan in the stands, and she starts getting onto him and saying, this is a very conservative time period, and there wouldn't be a guy in the stands with his shirt unbuttoned as much as you've got it unbuttoned there, and so on. And I'm thinking, did she not watch the actual game that this is based off of? Because I'd watched a video of the game, and there was a whole section of shirtless guys in the stands. So that was actually at that particular game that we were recreating.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was kind of funny.
I know Trico.
They also had the cheerleaders in poodle skirts that looked like they were from the late 50s or early 60s, and I was like, 1969 they were wearing miniskirts.
Yeah. Trico told me a story about a writer that he had to explain. I forget exactly what they were doing, but I think they were messing up Norse mythology. I believe he could tell a lot better than I can. But this person they were totally like messing up Norse mythology, and he had to correct them. And I don't know if they took the correction or not. I think they just did it their own way.
No, are you talking about the TV show Vikings or?
No. It's a comic book.
That one had a lot of inaccuracies.
Yeah,
I still enjoy watching it though.
I did see. I do have one book where it's like the end of the world is happening, and I joke with the creator about it all the time because he's like they make a comment about the countries like shooting off nukes, and he's like, yeah, Poland is threatening to launch a nuke, and it took me right out the story very quick because I'm like, wait a minute, Poland doesn't have nukes. And I called him on the phone. I'm like, hey man, no, I saw him at a convention. That's what it was, and I said, hey, what's this crap about Poland having nukes? You know something I don't know? And he's like, well, in my world they do. I'm like, oh, okay, all right.
Well, you know, you could if it's set in the near future, you can play with that a little bit. Like for instance, in my post-apocalyptic story, Iran has nukes, and it's Iran's use of nukes that sparks the whole nuclear war.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of set it up that way though, because you know, we do know that in the real world they are trying to get them. They might not have them yet, but they are trying to get them. And so the premise is, well, they get them, and they use them once they get them.
Yeah.
Randy, so that's at least plausible, I think.
Randy, you ever done that? You ever messed around with history in a book?
No, not really.
No,
but a lot of the stuff I do, you don't have to worry about history. So.
Oh well, I'm actually working on another novel that I've got about half written. It's probably going to be a while till I finish it, but I'm actually writing another novel that's a complete alternate history because it involves someone time traveling. So it involves time travel. Someone goes back, changes something in the past, and it creates an alternate timeline.
Cool.
So this one is basically a guy builds a time machine into a Peterbilt big rig, right?
Okay.
And then pulled behind the big rig, he has a flatbed trailer with one of those 40-foot cargo shipping containers on it, right? And so he drives it into downtown San Antonio, Texas, and pulls into Alamo Plaza and starts blasting down Alamo Plaza at 50 miles an hour. Then he activates the device that opens up wormholes that the truck goes through. And this police officer who's following him in his cruiser ends up going through too. So anyway, they come through the portal and they come through into the central courtyard of the Alamo on March 5th, 1836.
Okay.
Not a good place to be.
right during the middle of the siege of the Alamo, right?
Yeah.
But on the ship, in the shipping container, though, there's about 200 AR-10 rifles with a few thousand rounds of ammunition for them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also about half a dozen M2 Browning 50 caliber machine guns.
Yeah.
with a bunch of ammo for them. That takes up about half the space. Yeah, and then the rest of the space is taken up with crates full of technical manuals on various technologies like the Bessemer steel process and how to build a railroad and a bunch of other things like that. You know.
So having that experience as writing novels, how do you decide what's going to be a novel and what you like to do as a comic? Or is it a possible chance that book you just described to us can become a comic later?
That's possible. I mean, like my post-apocalyptic novel, I completed the novel first, and then I went back and converted it into scripts for comic book too.
Yeah, Cool.
Of course, with comic book, you have to cut some things out because, for instance, if there's like an internal monologue, and if there's an internal monologue, if it's important for the story, you can't do it as an internal monologue. You know, it doesn't really translate well to comics. You got to comics have to be more visual, you know. You can have you could turn it into, say, a discussion between two characters, you know. It's like someone's thinking something maybe in the novel, and the comic you might have them saying it instead to another character in the course of a conversation that they're having, you know.
Any other books you got right now? Any books that you've read that you Like, well, what are your favorite books right now? What other books are you reading in terms of comics?
Well, in terms of comics, I'm actually not. I'm not right in the middle of a comic at the moment. I'm reading a novel by Harry Turtledove. I like reading a lot of Harry Turtledove novels. He's mostly known for writing alternate histories, but the one I'm reading right now is actually more of a post-apocalyptic type story. It's called Super Volcano Eruption. Super Volcano Eruption, and it's basically kind of like a what if scenario. Like, what if the super volcano under Yellowstone National Park erupted in this massive eruption?
See, I told you, Randy. I told you. It's going to happen one day.
Devastated a good part of the U.S.
Well, they all say it's going to happen one day. It's just
Yeah,
not right away.
Yeah. Randy and I had a discussion about that almost a year ago. I was looking at my wife's grandfather's pictures. He does a lot of traveling. His picture, and he posts pictures on Facebook all the time. And he has all these pictures from Yellowstone. And I'm like, I would love to go there, but I know what's going to happen. The day that I go is the day that it goes. So,
yeah. Scientists say that with that when it comes to that, we'll probably get a lot of signs beforehand.
Yeah,
there'll probably be a lot of the indicators beforehand, because seismologists and volcanologists and stuff, they're usually able nowadays to predict that something's going on. Now, not always though. I mean, Mount St. Helens kind of took a lot of people by surprise.
I think at the time they were having a lot of problems with the geysers. Going off more frequently, and Varian was sure it was about to blow, and I'm like, no, they're venting off steam. It's going to take longer for it to build up if those geysers keep letting off steam. So I think you're pretty safe.
It's gonna go.
It's gonna blow.
Get out of here. I'm checking out.
Probably one of my favorite authors though is a guy named John Ringo. He mostly does military science fiction though.
Okay.
So there's a series he wrote called Legacy of the Aldenata that was probably one of my favorite novel series of all time.
For me, it's Robert Jordan. I didn't get into
Wheel of Time.
I didn't get into him until later. A friend of mine left some books with me, and I was sick, and I'm like, I'll start reading these, and I started reading them, and I fell in love with it. And then, so some of the stuff since he's passed, has been like, I'm not reading that. But, I've got a bunch of books, and I think I
started reading that series probably about 18 years ago. Almost 19 years ago now. When I read most of them in 2001, 2002 time frame.
That'd be about the same, probably, yeah.
And except for the ones that weren't out yet, and then I had to wait for the rest of the series. But
I remember my friend saying, "Man, I really want that book," but it.
Well, they're making a TV show now, right?
Yeah. I'm not looking forward to that.
I'm kind of two minds about it. I've heard I know some people are were a little concerned about the casting, but I don't think it's as big of a deal as what they're making out. The casting, that is. Now we'll see what they do with it, though. One hopeful sign that I have is that the showrunner is a fan. So I don't think we're going to get another Rian Johnson.
Let's hope. Let's hope. Let's hope we don't get another Rian, but there's a good chance we will. I just look. It's something that I like, so there's a high probability that it's going to be screwed. But
well, one thing to keep in mind, one thing you always have to go into these things with is if you're a fan of the book series and they're doing an adaptation of the book or books, it's never going to be exactly the way that you think it should be.
Envision it. Yep.
Yeah.
Respect. So you just as long as you go into it knowing that, okay, this is someone's vision of it. It's not my vision of it. I mean, it's never going to be exactly the way you want it to be.
Right. With that in mind, part of the thing I like to ask people, one of the things I like to ask people when they come on the show is if there's a movie or an adaptation of their property, do they have any actors, directors, and producers in mind? So would you have any in mind, any actors or?
Oh, like who would I want to play Dr. Vindictus?
Yeah.
If it was made in a movie?
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of a tough one. Well, he's probably a little bit too old to do it now, but Christopher Lloyd would be kept pretty cool for the role.
I got that vibe from looking at him too. Yeah, Christopher Lloyd would be good.
Or Ian McKellen for that matter. Ian McKellen could pull it off.
Yeah. Ian surprised me because he announced, what was it? What type of cancer did he have? But he's still working, and I was I forgot what it was.
Thing is, most of the people that I could come up with, if this ever became a reality, it probably would be years down the road.
Yeah.
And some of the actors that I would think of now probably might not even be around by then. So who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, Ian McKellen, Patrick Stewart, those guys they're getting up in age now. We don't know how much longer we're going to have them around.
Right.
Yeah, I was thinking.
I'm hopefully they'll still be around 10, 15 years down the road, but we don't know.
You know, I like it too.
When Leonard Nimoy passed, I was kind of surprised because I didn't even know he was sick.
Yeah, you know why I like maybe play a good Dr. Vindictus too, but he's again older. It's James Cromwell.
Oh yeah, I could see him in that role.
But he's older now too, so he's what? Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, but yeah.
Someone along those lines, though.
Yeah.
Or what's the? I'm trying to think. What's the name of that guy? Did you guys ever see Steven Spielberg's Taken?
Yeah.
I can't say I've seen it. No.
There was an actor. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he played a scientist character in that. He was kind of an amoral type.
Go look it up.
He also played the dad in the dad of the next door neighbor kids in Home Alone. Or not Home Alone, but Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Because it was oh crap! I brought it up as Taken, but Steven Spielberg. Not to be confused with that. Not to be confused with was it Liam Neeson's. Trying to think of the actors, but Randy's looking it up.
But that actor probably is not too old to play the role though.
2008 movie or the series? Not the Liam Neeson.
I'm talking about
2002.
It was the
2017
2002
TV series.
Yeah, you gotta make sure you put in Spielberg.
No, it's
you gotta make sure you put in Spielberg.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg Taken.
Yeah, because otherwise you'll get the Liam Neeson one.
Yeah, all I've got is a 2017 TV series. Hang on.
Yeah, that's not the same.
Yeah, more title matches.
Not the same.
What the name of the character he played?
I'm trying to think of the name of the character. I'm trying to think of the name of the character here.
Yeah.
I'm pulling it up right now, actually.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, here it is.
Yes.
Matt Frewer.
Matt Frewer. Yeah, absolutely. I could see that.
Frewer. Yeah. I could see him in that role. He would be good in that role, I think.
Yeah, I bet he would.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
In fact, didn't he?
He was on Fear the Walking Dead.
Was he? Okay. I'm not totally caught up on that one. Good.
Yeah, you know what? That guy is he's been in so much stuff.
Oh yeah.
He was I love his voice though.
Yeah.
He was a truck driver rapist in Supergirl, and I thought it was so weird because he's like like she's like, why are you doing this? It's just the way we are. And it's like this guy is sick, killing Supergirl. He's Moloch in Watchmen as well. The 2009 movie.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a while since I've seen that film.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one in a while either.
Yeah, he was Moloch with the ears and everything.
Okay.
Now, I get that, Randy. We are running out of time, so we want to remind everybody. I'm gonna put the link in this description, so people can go back. This book, April 3rd, he's gonna launch it. It's gonna be $10 just to get into a basic copy of the book. So it's plus definitely shipping. Affordable. Yep. Plus shipping, yeah, obviously, but yeah, it's gonna be definitely affordable. One of the more affordable comics out there right now. Dr. Lore's wonderful the Death Ray of Dr. Vindictus.
Dr. Vindictus.
And it's going to I like it. It's gonna be a newsprint, which for me fits the title. Even though I'm gonna give you the newsprint pass, Doc. I'm gonna give you the newsprint.
Well, I wouldn't do this for our fantasy novel. You know,
Yeah.
'cause for that one, we're probably gonna want to go with a different kind of printing. But for this one, I think it works.
Yeah, it's gonna. And again, when you do launch this, we're gonna have you back on just to keep up with how you're gonna. Are you gonna also put it on IndieCron? Are you gonna have them? You gonna have Pixel follow that, or is that something you just want to keep the numbers?
I have to look into that. I have to look into that.
I know you have to ask. Is why I'm asking. You have to tell them that you like to be covered on there, you know, because they just don't do it, you know, without the creator's permission. So
yeah, because they want to get people asking.
One other comic coming down the road that I'll probably also do on newsprint is one called Escape from Eridani, or Eridani Escape. Haven't completely settled on the title yet, but that one's kind of an alien abduction one that's kind of pulpy also. So
cool.
I'll probably go with the newsprint on that one. But the fantasy one, that's probably going to be more of a modern, glossy, you know.
Sure. Yeah. Yep. Sounds like fun.
Yeah, you gotta. Now you just have to get when you get these done, you'll have to at some point, because I just feel like there's so much potential and future potential in Dr. Vindictus and that magic comic book idea that I can see it going around for years and years. You have to build a compendium. So yeah, make sure that I'm quoted on the back. I knew this was gonna be a compendium one day. If it's not up there, I'm gonna be mad at you.
All right.
Yeah. I want to remind everybody that if you are listening on IndieVolt Radio, thank you. We got up to a really big number today. We got to 7,100 people listening.
Oh, incredible!
Yeah,
awesome.
7,100 people listening.
We appreciate each and every
Radio.
one of you.
Yeah, really appreciate that. If you want to,
so much.
If you want to send your question in, you can do so by writing into IndieVolt Live at IndieVolt.com. Include IndieVolt Live in the subject and keep those emails to 90 words or less. I'm going to kick it over to Dr. Lore, who can tell people where you can find him if you want to talk to him or pick up any of his books or other things that he feels comfortable selling to you.
Okay, well, my handle on Twitter is @LoreDoctor. So @LoreDoctor. So if you want to message me on there, I can answer any other questions you have. And
he messages back pretty quick too. I can tell you that. I can attest to him messaging back pretty quickly.
And he's frozen. Oh, you're freezing up again.
I'm freezing. Oh, I was gonna say.
For a second. You're back now. It's all good.
So he's @LoreDoctor. I'm gonna put that up for people who might be listening or might be watching.
The one time it might take me a little while to get back with you is if I'm working out. Yeah. You know, so like between 5 and 6 in the morning, I'm usually doing CrossFit. So.
Yeah. So @LOR.
And again, that campaign. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
So he's on Twitter @LoreDoctor, LoreDoctor.
And again, that campaign is the Death Ray of Dr. Vindictus. You can find it under Dr. Vindictus. That's the easiest thing to when you search on Indiegogo.com. The campaign starts on April 3rd, but you want to be signed up as soon as you can in order to get those notifications.
Yeah. All right, guys. And again, remember, you can listen to us all the time on IndieVolt Radio if you have Google. It's pretty easy. You can find us on Google Play, under the IndieVolt Radio app, or if you have Apple, use the Streamer app and type in IndieVolt Radio. We are there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Independent music, news, and content, all in the indie market, all from us, your friends here at IndieVolt. And then we also have IndieVolt TV on Roku, coming very soon to Amazon Fire Stick. Over-the-top network, streaming independent movies, wrestling, interviews, convention stuff, this show, all that good stuff for absolutely free. And it's really good to have. And right now, we're all kind of cooped in the house and can't do anything, right? Again, Randy wants to remind you to smash that like button, subscribe if you're listening on YouTube or Twitch.
Smash that like button.
Yeah. Make sure that you ring that bell for notifications. Make sure you're still notified if you're and subscribe, because they will take you off of there if you don't do it ever so often.
And on top of IndieVolt, you can find me at the Zimm Geek channel on YouTube. I'm available on Facebook. My email address is right below my my face here, randyjzim at gmail.com.
Yeah. So we want to thank everybody for joining us. We are out of here. Stay safe, stay healthy.
Please.
And remember to wash your hands. Yeah. Yeah. And we're going to make sure that we put the link in the description for Dr. Laura when it launches. Please go back him, show him some love for this book. It looks fantastic. Thank you for joining us today, Dr. Laura. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And you can hang out with us. We're gonna run the bump. We're gonna run the bumper, but you can hang out with us. You don't have to sign out. So we'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks, everyone out there listening to us. Thanks a lot for being here, very deeply. And again, be careful. Stay healthy.
Yeah, we'll be back next Tuesday, if not before. Crazy things happen in this industry. Yeah. So we'll see you soon. Until then,
take care. Thanks again.